Welkom terug hier op GROOTplaas. So, vanoggend gesels ons bietjie met Jason Redding, hy's 'n genetikus by SA Stamboek en dit nou na ons by die Internasionale Komitee vir Diere-aantekening as 'n data-interpretasiesentrum gesertifiseer is. Jason, good morning and thank you. Welcome being here on GROOTplaas.
Thank you for having me.
My English are going to be getting bad here towards the end. I'm just joking, but let's get into this. So what does it mean that we now have an Icar certification in South Africa?
Okay, so Icar is the International Committee of Animal Recording, and they are a service or an organization that oversees the integrity of data handling when it comes to animal improvement. So this certification is the first one in Africa that we as Stamboek have received. We are a DNA interpretation center, and that just means that we are following the correct procedure, implementing that procedure when interpreting genomic data for the verification and discovery of parentage.
So how far back can we then look at the parentage, like you say, for specific animals in South Africa?
Well, what we are verifying, firstly, is the stud breeder breeds animals. And a pedigree is a cornerstone of stud breeding and genetic improvement within the framework that we provide our breeders. So a breeder will mate with sires and cows. Most of them will know what the sire is, especially if they do artificial insemination or they do single sire mating. So they are just verifying that the sire that they are telling you is the sire of that bull or that heifer that you want to purchase is actually that. And then discovery is when a breeder is using multiple sires or potentially a conflict comes into play. Now we need to go and look at the rest of the animals that are genomically tested in order to verify their parentage. And how far can we go back? Well, as far as how many animals the breeder has decided to genomically test. Luckily, we do have a few biobanks in South Africa, so if the animal is dead, we can go and actually extract that stored sample and genomically test it in order to verify or discover parentage.
So what would this kind of certification mean for local breeders?
Well, for the breeders, they can rest assured that we at SA Stamboek are following the international standards, that we are verifying their data with integrity, and that the results that we present in their auction catalogs or on sabeefbulls.com is 100% reliable, and that they can rest assured that we at SA Stamboek are doing the best so that they can keep farming the way they do.
So would it have to be a situation where if you are a stud farmer, you have a certain amount of animals, that you would register with Stamboek SA and you'll keep a log of all your animals going forward?
Yes, so SA Stamboek is the registering authority in South Africa for all the animals. So we have breed societies that have joined up with SA Stamboek as their service provider. We are a database that hosts all of this stud data. So yes, the breeder will use a farm software program to record his matings and his sire and dam lines with his calves, all the measurements. And we at SA Stamboek are the database, but obviously from data comes mining of data, and we can mine that data to provide services that then assist these breeders in making the best genetic selection for the next generation.
Let's say with the recent outbreak of foot and mouth disease and that kind of thing, also genetics on animals, just as a basis, would this help our farmers and breeders make sure that we have a more reliable, sustainable farming going forward?
So there you're mainly talking about the issue of traceability.
Traceability,
so
yeah.
Yes, traceability does actually form a part of the Stamboek or logic system because we are ensuring lineage, and the genomic technology can assist in verifying that lineage. And Stamboek itself is a part of the whole traceability system that is currently being set up by RMIS. And what this technology can really help with is if we are actually phenotyping these animals, so we identify the ones that get sick and the ones that don't, and we can then use genomic technology to potentially also identify animals that are resistant to foot and mouth and potentially use those to breed a more resistant future population.
Amazing. So how did SA Stamboek manage to become one of the world's top 14 DNA centers?
Well, SA Stamboek has been around since 1905, so we're actually celebrating 120 years within the South African agricultural industry. Stamboek has always tried to maintain its international recognition by participating in Icar. Icar actually audits us every 5 years to ensure that we are up to scratch with the rest of what's going on in Europe and America and Australia. This is an important relationship to have because it also showcases to our South African breeders that we in South Africa, our science, our recognition of what we do is internationally accredited and in line with what's going overseas. And this accreditation that we have received, the Icar DNA parentage verification, it's a great a voorreg or a great privilege for us at SA Stamboek, because it showcases that what we have been doing for the last couple of years is in line with these accreditations and in line with international guidelines. We are the first ones in Africa, on the African continent, only the second center in the Southern Hemisphere to be able to do this. And that showcases to our breeders that the services we are providing to them are at the forefront of science in animal genetics.
Fantastic. And how much information needs to be disclosed by SA Stamboek with Icar on a yearly basis?
So as I indicated, they come to us every 5 years and they proof check the entire system from our IT database, just the servers themselves, how they run, all the way through the code where the IT team comes around, and then lastly with us that do the genetic evaluations to ensure that our models and the programs that we are using are up to date, that we've updated everything. And there are certain tests throughout the 5-year period that some of my colleagues actually have to submit answers to maintain that Icar accreditation. So it's an ongoing process, but it's always fun to get great feedback from people like this.
Welkom terug hier op GROOTplaas. Ons gas in die ateljee vanoggend is Jason Redding. Hy's 'n genetikus daar by SA Stamboek. En now we've spoken about the Icar certification. There's a technology called S&P technology. Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Okay, so SNP technology, or we can just call it genomic technology, it stands for single nucleotide polymorphism. So we know that 99.9% of the DNA that each animal carries is exactly the same within species. But we've noticed that through research and whole genome sequencing, that there are specific markers on the animal's DNA that show variation. And they can only show variation in one of two ways, an A or a B. So these single nucleotide polymorphisms can be put on a customized array or a test where we test for 50,000 of these markers. And these markers are used in genomically enhanced breeding values. But they were initially brought in because we needed a better technology to verify parentage and to discover these parents in a more accurate and powerful way. So most breeders in South Africa are still using a DNA technology, microsatellites, which uses a lower number of markers. But that marker does have a higher strength than a SNP marker, but we're only using between 12 and 17 of these markers. And at times we saw that there was a problem in that it would nominate multiple animals as the sire, which causes a bit of a question mark because we want to know who exactly the sire is of these animals. So this genomic technology on the verification side uses 200 markers. If we cannot verify the parentage or there's no known parent, we then switch over to the discovery, which uses 550 markers. And that Icar accreditation, they actually sent us a test with all these animals with these markers. They had the answers at the end, and we had to write a program that then gave these answers for the parentage verification.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to these genetic improvements, how does that contribute to food security in South Africa?
That's a very good question, Doofy. Thank you for that. How does that contribute to food security? Well, we know that stud breeding is at the top of the beef chain. They breed the better genetics in terms of fertility, adaptability, and growth, which at the end of the day are the traits that our stud breeders. These genetics then filter down into the commercial and informal markets, which are the main producers of beef in this country. We don't just do beef cattle at SA Stamboek, we also assist with dairy, small stock, equine and canine. So in terms of food security on the beef and lamb side, by ensuring that our breeders are breeding with the top genetics and genetically improving, they are breeding animals that can face a harsher climate in the future and will always produce, therefore always allowing commercial breeders to access a market that can improve their product that they then sell to the consumer.
So it sounds like all breeders should be part of this program and at least, you know, send some information your way. But is this an expensive exercise for the breeders out there?
Yes. So initially, genomic testing was very expensive. I think it was over 1,300 Rand to test an animal when I started about 6 or 7 years ago. But the price has actually drastically come down in comparison to inflation, the cost of food, the cost of living, which has increased. This genomic technology has actually come down in price. So currently we actually have a beef genomics project where the government is giving us a subsidy to genomically test 15,000 animals a year. And our stud breeders are taking this by the horns. But in terms of the cost factor, there's a nice little comparison that if I was to buy a Boeing in 2000, it would have cost me X amount, and currently it would cost me 10 times the amount to buy a Boeing now than what it was 25 years ago. When it comes to a genomic test, it's the other way around. 20 years ago, it would have cost me 10 times more than what it would cost now, and currently we can offer it at around 660 Rand per animal.
Okay, so the cost has gone down dramatically, which is nice. Jason, thank you for being here this morning. I think interesting to know that we are part of the top 14 when it comes to DNA centers around the world. And thank you for the work that you guys are doing for the breeders and the information that we're sharing with the world. Jason Redding, ons gas vanoggend, hy's 'n genetikus daar van SA Stamboek. Dit is dit vir 'n GROOTplaas vir vanoggend. Ons hoop jy het lekker saam met ons gekuier en ons sal weer môre terug wees om die week mooi af te sluit en dan sien ons mekaar dan.